College now. They celebrated a grand 100 years of hockey last year, and this program is so strong, one of the best in the nation right now. Out of all the guys to skate through UNH and Dartmouth in the last 10 or 15 years and to move on and play, out of all the current players out there in the professional ranks, the #1 player right now is Lee Stempniak. He's a Dartmouth grad, and he's enjoying a 20-goal season for the St. Louis Blues. Hugh Jessamine is going to skate through Manchester today. If you go over to the Monarchs hockey game, you'll see him playing for the Hartford Wolfpack, and he scored the first goal of the game last night in a Hartford win over Manchester. Ben Orford, who played for Bob Gaudette this year, just signed on with the Norfolk Admirals, and on Friday night, he had 3 assists. So this is such a strong program and only getting stronger every year. And here to talk a little bit more about the Big Green is the Deputy Director of Athletics, Bob Seplikis.
Thanks, Jamie. On behalf of Dartmouth College and our men's and women's hockey programs, we'd just like to express our sincere appreciation to the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey, wonderful organization, as well as to the Manchester Monarchs for their part in honoring our Big Green programs in their game this afternoon. We're so proud, along with the University of New Hampshire, to be one of the 2 Division I hockey programs in the state of New Hampshire. Our men's and women's programs have terrific rivalries, Dartmouth and UNH, in recent years, and we're very glad to represent the state of New Hampshire on the national scene as well. All 4 of those programs are two Dartmouth programs and 2 UNH programs were prominently nationally ranked this year, and so we're very proud to represent this great state and this great sport of hockey on the national scene. So thanks again to this great organization for this great honor. We appreciate it tremendously. Thank you.
This is really a special event for all of us, and I personally thank you. I can't believe this is our 6th year, but this afternoon, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be honoring a living legend who was, because of health, cannot be here. His name is Al Adams, and I got to tell you personally, if it wouldn't be for him, a lot of us, we wouldn't be where we're at today. A little bio on Al. He was inducted in February 17, 2002. His hockey history is as follows. Co-captain of Berlin High School team of 1944, joined the U.S. Marine Corps, played 3 years as a defenseman for UNH Wildcats. Adam played 3 seasons for the Berlin Maroons, including the 1953-54 season when the Maroons won the AHA National Championship, to 1962, leading the Maroons to 2 more AHA National Championships. At a cost of much personal financial sacrifice, he kept amateur hockey in Berlin at the highest level in the United States Amateur Hockey Association during his term. In 1963, he was named Mr. Sportsman of the Year by the Athletic Booster Club of Berlin. Al served on our board until this winter when, because of health, he just couldn't make those trips anymore. For his love of the Berlin Maroons and involvement and dedication to hockey for more than 60 years, we would like to recognize those accomplishments here today and present Al. Dickie Roy will take it in his stead with his beautiful jacket, the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey name and logo on the jacket. So Al Adams, you're not here, but thank you, Dickie.
And our well wishes up to Al in Berlin. It's not quite the same without him here at the Great Luncheon. So we're ready now to induct 9 new members into our Hall of Fame. And if you want to watch it over and over again, just know that it's on Bedford Community Cablevision. Jim is here taping the whole procedure. We're going to start now, and the way this will work is I'll make an introduction, and then the Hall of Famer will come up, say a few remarks. We'd like you to keep it to no more than 3 to 5 minutes if you can, and then we'll have a plaque for you, and we'll get through our 9 new inductees. We start with one in honor of the Frozen Four and the college basketball Final Four. I decided to do my own final four of my favorite all-time New Hampshire athletes. And, you know, your list would be much different than mine. It's very personal, but on one side of the bracket, I would have my favorite all-time UNH hockey player, Mick Mounsey, going against my favorite all-time Pinkerton Academy football player, Ryan Mihalko, who went on to captain at Notre Dame. And then in the other side of the bracket, I would have Carlton Fisk against a great softball player from Salem who was also pretty good at hockey, Katie King. So then I would have Ryan Mihalko would win because he's a Pinkerton guy, and I would have Katie King win because I know we're much better than Carlton Fisk. So it would be Katie King against Ryan Mihalko, and because my mom was Katie's Sunday school teacher, and because she's about the nicest person you'll ever meet in the universe, Katie King would be my all-time favorite New Hampshire athlete. That alone is not nearly enough to get her into the Hall of Fame. That wouldn't even get her dessert. But she is a three-time Olympian, three-time medal winner, three-time Ivy League Player of the Year, the Player of the Year nationally last year for Team USA, on and on. Never lost a softball game as a pitcher at Salem High School, 4 consecutive state championships. Everything she touches turns to gold. Our first member of the Hall of Fame today. I've been waiting for this for years. Katie King from Salem, New Hampshire, welcomed into the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey.
Thank you. It's a great honor to be up here. Hockey's brought me a lot of great honors in life and great friendships and has really been important in my life. And you know, it all started when I was 4 years old. But I'd like to first thank David Jack for, I think, nominating me for this award. And it's truly a privilege for me to be up here with all the other inductees. I'm kind of shocked a little bit, but you know, I first would like to thank my parents, who have been the ones that drive me to every sport that I played, been at any game they could be at, traveled to countries far away from here to watch me play, and it's been important for me for them to be involved in that as well, because they started me in the sport. I'd also like to thank my teammates, because as you all know, hockey is a team sport, and I don't think any of them could make it here, but I know Tara Moundsey's a past inductee, and I've played, you know, the friendships that you get in hockey was one of the great things about the sport. You know, I will have friends forever through hockey and through all the sports that I played. My high school softball coach is here as well, which is great to see him. I haven't seen him in a while, and you know, I've been able to play a lot of different sports in my life so far, and I don't think I'm going to start any new ones anytime soon, but you never know, I guess. But it's truly an honor for me to be up here. Congratulations again to all the other inductees. Dartmouth College, I've played against them many times, and when I was at Brown, Coach Gaudette was at Brown coaching, so I have you know a lot of people in the audience, and it's great to see everyone, and thank you very much.
Our next inductee, one of the forefathers of Concord hockey, president of the National Ice Hockey Officials Association starting in 1962, the Concord Youth Hockey Association's very first president. As a youngster, he received the great nickname of Tarzan for his summertime ability to climb trees and jump all over local ponds while growing up at the St. Paul's School. We're proud to induct John Tarzan Healy to the class of 2007. Please welcome Deborah Healy Hauser, accepting for her father.
Thank you, Jamie. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of my family, I would like to thank the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey Board of Directors And for this honor, I want to thank Jimmy Hayes. He's been so great to me, but in particular, Ken McKinnon, who's been a lifelong friend, and I love him dearly. I just have a few short words. Jamie, you said we only had 5 minutes? 50. I'm only going to use one of my minutes. Cecil, do you want my other 4? Okay. Just a short summary of my dad. There are kind of 2 words that remind me of my dad a lot, and that's dedication and love. So when I was going through some articles for the Concord Monitor, I found this one particular article that said it all for him. So I'm going to share a little bit, and I promise I'll make it real quick. My dad passed away about 12 years ago, like I said, and I was going through some articles. And this one article, I'm going to tell you real quick. The Healy family grew up at St. Paul's School, and is a rather large family of 10 children. And 2 months before my dad passed away from graduating from high school, and so he kind of knew he'd have to work hard to help support the family. So Tarzan knew he'd have to go to work, so what he did is he played for the Boston Olympics in the Garden, competed against teams from all over the Northeast. He'd work at St. Paul's School from 7:30 in the morning till 2:30 in the afternoon. He'd ride the train to Boston, play his game, or he'd have practice. And then he'd have to either fly or ride the milk train home in order to get to work again in the morning. And sometimes he didn't come in till midnight. Sometimes it was 5:30 in the morning. So a lot of people would say, Tarzan, why would you do that? And I quote, in Tarzan's words, well, I don't know. I just do it because I'm dedicated. So I guess all I have to say is Tarzan was a dedicated player, coach, and official, but above all, he loved his family. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention how grateful I am that my father's sisters, nieces, nephew, and grandchildren are here today. And thank you. I love you. And last but not least, I would like to congratulate the other inductees of the New Hampshire Legends Hockey Hall of Fame. Thank you all.
Just want to make sure we honor all the Dartmouth people that are here today. We've heard from Bob Seplikis, and we saw Bob Gaudette. Also here representing Table 31, if you could just stand up briefly, is Rob Morgan, the assistant coach of the women's hockey team, Holly Ting, the assistant coach of women's hockey, Heather Crows, the sports information director for Dartmouth Hockey, I couldn't live without her, and Jack DeGange, the co-author of Northern Ice, is also with us. So this is the Dartmouth clan that made the trip today. Our next inductee was born in Berlin, the next great player from Hockeytown to come into the New Hampshire Legends, a Berlin High School Mountaineer. How cool is this? In a state championship game, 16 seconds into overtime, he scored to beat Hanover. 4-3 was the final score of that. 16 seconds into the championship game, he won it. Captain and MVP his senior year, went on to play for the Berlin Junior Monarchs, went to UNH, twice took them to the Frozen Four, and after that played for the Concord Budmen and is now an assistant coach with Winnicott High School. Welcome to the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey Hall of Fame, John Normand.
Wow. Give me a minute here. I got to take this all in. I want to thank the Academy. This is the Oscars, right? It is to me. This is truly, truly an incredible honor, and I am so thankful to be here. I'm also told that I have about 5 minutes, and when the music starts, that's my time is up. I want to acknowledge, number one, all of the previous inductees, and there's a long, legendary list of Berlin guys that I grew up watching. These guys were truly my heroes growing up. to the previous inductees, great to be here. I want to thank Frank Roy for being my sponsor. Thank you, Frank. And I'll never forget the call I got from Dickie Roy saying, guess what? You're being inducted. That was a great call. There are certain people in my lifetime that there's really I could literally roll out a scroll of people that I want to thank, but I know I only have a certain amount of time, and I want to acknowledge these people. My coaches, Don Uwat. I don't know if Don is here, but Don was a family friend growing up. I was 8, 9 years old, and he used to take me downstairs in the basement and play street hockey. He saw something, a talent, or believed in me and got me involved in hockey at the age of 9. And I want to thank Don for that. Albie Broder, who was my high school coach. Albie taught me the game on napkins at the local submarine shop in Berlin. He used to sit down and diagram plays on a napkin, and that's where I learned to play the game. I learned to be creative, and he was a great mentor and a great coach, and I want to thank Albie for that. Who else but Husky Poirier? Husky was is an inductee not long ago. Husky provided opportunity to hundreds, literally hundreds of kids in Berlin. He started youth hockey, and I had the privilege of playing for Husky, and he gave me opportunity, and I want to thank Husky for that. His legendary pep talks were something to remember. I remember one time playing in a game down in South Shore. I scored 5 goals. And after the game, Husky just climbed all over me. It's like, to this day, I'm still scratching my head. It's like, what the hell is that, Husky? I scored 5 goals. What are you giving me a hard time for? But I think what he was trying to say is, like, this is just the beginning. And, keep focused. You're going to have more of those if you stay focused. And I heard that message, and I thank him for that. Charlie Holt, my coach at UNH. I thank Charlie for giving me the opportunity to playing college hockey, Division I. Truly an honor that I'm sure every kid in New Hampshire dreams of playing, and that came true for me. My years at UNH, there were a couple of good years, and there were a couple of not so good years. Kind of fell out of Charlie's good graces. Most of you, I'm not sure if you know that I have 3 children. 2 of them came in those years. That's my son, Justin. And sort of fell out of good graces, and I've come to the realization that, Charlie was doing his job, and I think Charlie was he was jealous. He knew that I was getting laid more than he was. I want to thank Helen for being there in those times and for helping to raise 3 great kids. She was a true mentor and a great help in raising our children, and I thank you for that. I want to thank the fans over the years, all of the fans that I've had, the fans from Berlin, growing up in a fabulous town, a hockey town, USA. You couldn't ask for anything better. The Maroons, growing up, watching those guys, and then playing with a whole group of great hockey players. I'm just really, really thankful for having the privilege of playing in Berlin. One other person that I want to acknowledge, who is my greatest fan, is my mother. who's here today. And I want to thank the Academy for making this a reality while she's still here. Thank you. Thank you so much. I get the opportunity to make her proud of me one more time. There are three very good friends that I want to acknowledge. One is Dana Barban. Dana and I played at UNH together, and when I left UNH, ended up in Exeter. And Dana was the athletic director and coach at Phillips Exeter Academy, and the Friday night skates were something that I think every guy and every hockey player in the Seacoast wanted to be a part of. They were some of the great opportunities to continue playing. We traveled, we went to tournaments and won tournaments all over basically the East Coast. Bobby Gaudette playing summer hockey during the hockey camp. We were just talking about that earlier. Those were times, the greatest hockey that you could ever ask for with college guys from Dartmouth and Brown and wherever they came from. It was just fabulous. And I want to thank Dana for those terrific memories. My friend Peter Marr, who was not able to be here, Peter, Dana, and I played together as a line for 25 years. And Peter was probably the best setup man in the game, and truly a great friend. I have to share with you one experience. We were in Orono, Maine, playing against a team from New Brunswick. I scored the go-ahead goal with like 8 minutes to go in the game. We ended up winning the tournament, and when I scored that goal, Peter and Dana came over, and it was like we were 12-year-old kids again. It was just unbelievable. It was a great moment I'll never forget. And then last, my friend Ralph, Ralph Cox is unable to be here. Having the opportunity to play with Ralph in college, one of the all-time greats in college hockey, and has become a real friend, a true friend. Sorry that he's not here, but I wanted to acknowledge him as well. There's one other person I want to acknowledge, Kenny McKinnon. I know Kenny's here. Kenny, there he is. I want you to know that my mother is here. Back in 1972, we were playing in a game, Berlin High, Notre Dame. We lost. Notre Dame scored a goal late in the third period to go ahead, and it was as a result of a blown call. And ironically, wouldn't it be so convenient that there's two McKinnons are doing the game, Don McKinnon and Kenny McKinnon. Who would have thought? At the end of the game, my mother, we're shaking hands, and my mother jumps out on the ice. Kenny's standing there on the blue line, he's watching us, and my mother jumps out on the ice, and she's sliding by him on the blue line, and she's... Kenny still maintains that it was Don McKinnon that blew the call. She's here, Kenny. You can make up to her now. All right. Again, thank you. Thank you so much. This is a tremendous honor that I am so grateful to be honored here today with the true legends of hockey. I can honestly say no longer in my own mind am I a legend. Thank you.
Next up, a guy from Portland, Maine, who moved to Portsmouth High School and then began a long and great coaching year in the high school ranks. First with the Concord Youth Hockey House League, but then mainly with Bishop Brady High School, which is the main reason he's being honored here. 13 great years there, a very small school that he made into a prestigious hockey program. They even had a great year this year, but Bishop Brady went to 2 state finals under him overall, won 181 games. Bud Luckern is in the class of 2007. We welcome him and Cecil Luckern, accepting for his late father.
Well, Johnny, you're a tough act to follow. And if Coach Holt was still alive, I wonder what he'd be thinking about your remarks. I'd like to congratulate all of the former inductees as well as this year's inductees. It's a great honor. You know, this is a great event. It's a good organization. First, I would like to thank the directors of the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey for this great honor. Our dad would be very proud. Bud was not your average coach. He didn't really play a lot of hockey, kind of picked it up as my brothers and I started youth hockey in Concord. Coached at the house level first. I think him and Tazi and Healy started the first Mike travel team in Concord. Watched a few of their games. A line change for them was literally picking the kids up, putting them over the boards, picking them up and putting them back on the bench because they were too small to come through the door. In 72, 73, Brady was looking for a new head hockey coach. My dad had ties there. I had just graduated. My brother Tommy was going to be a senior, and eventually all 6 kids in our family would graduate from Brady. The first couple of games were tough. They were on the road. I think they lost the first few. Then things weren't going so tough. He was changing the style of play at Bishop Brady. Their first home game at Everett Arena, as was tradition, Father Goodwin from the school would come into the locker room and say a pregame prayer with the players. Well, as he was walking in the room, my dad was giving his pregame speech, which could be pretty colorful at times. Was using a bunch of choice words. Needless to say, Father Goodwin walked in and walked right back out. From then on, he always knocked before he went into the room. Over the years of our dad's career at Bishop Brady, he was a great motivator. He was tough, but he had a heart of gold. He always was able to communicate well with his players. He made players who were marginal better players and better people because of it. Many of his former players went on to become excellent hockey coaches themselves, and they remained Bud's friends till his death. If Bud was here today, he would truly be honored to be inducted with such a great group of hockey people. Again, our family would like to thank you all for this wonderful tribute to our father. Thank you.
One of the guys that played for Coach Bud at Bishop Brady High School is up next, a goalie there that helped them into the state championship game twice. Fall of 1980, enrolled at the University of New Hampshire on a football scholarship, but also spent his winters in the net playing goalie for UNH. He was with UNH their final year. They were in the ECAC conference, and then for their first year in Hockey East as well. His numbers at UNH are amazing. He's still among the leaders in 6 of the 10 goaltending records at UNH. Signed a 3-year NHL contract with the Edmonton Oilers. Finished his pro career in 1988 and still competes in the Portland area. We welcome into the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey, Bruce Gillies Jr. Welcome and congratulations.
Hopefully keep it a 5, all right? Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much. First, I'd like to say thank you to the Board of Directors of the New Hampshire Legends of Hall of Fame for allowing me the honor of induction. And congratulations to my fellow inductees and all previous inductees. It's an honor to be beside all of you. As Hazy gave me the call, of course, like everybody here, I was ecstatic, speechless. I sat down to write some words last night, and 2 words kept coming back: lucky and thankful. I have so many memories that involve the great game of hockey, and that happened because of hockey, that I wish this event could go on for a week. We could turn the chairs around, turn it into a locker room, and just talk all night. Having come through the Concord Youth Hockey Program, I'm lucky and thankful for a couple of coaches, Dr. Carlson, who taught me at a young age, get on that ice, you work your hardest. Colonel McCaffrey, who taught me about fairness, and I looked at him, he was a true gentleman on the bench. I'm thankful and lucky for my lifelong friends from youth hockey, Tony, Jack, Dunk, Tilly, Chip, Ben, Denap, Millsy, Crook, just to name a few, and Smitty, who was my goalie partner, Pee-wees and Bantams, both of us being Sagittarians, yet somehow we never had an ego with each other, and it was rare we were able to alternate full games each. He still remains a very good friend today. Growing up in Concord during the late 60s and early 70s, I'm lucky and thankful for White's Park, which on any given Saturday and Sunday would be packed with skaters and hockey players. A game of shinny at one end of the rink, boot hockey at the other, and usually a couple of exile guys in the middle shooting pucks back and forth, walking back and forth. One of them was Dunk Walsh. Still never got a slap shot down to this day. On Friday night in Concord was the Concord High School game. Watching my brother Kurt play, Johnny Dunn, Hazy, Stuffy, Louis Chabot, Eric Eberhardt, and of course a live band that played between periods. Saturday afternoon was the NEC game. The CCM line, Cozy and Matthews, Hazy again and Stuffy. And Saturday night, of course, was the Eastern Olympics. A packed Everett Arena, a layer of smoke at the top of the rink. Place so loud and so packed and so lively, it was fantastic. I remember asking Dick Pinch for his stick after a game one night, and he gave it to me. I was so ecstatic, I slept with it, went to White's Park the next day, broke it. On to high school. I don't think at Bishop Brady a script could have been written better for myself. Very lucky and thankful to have gone there. To be able to watch players, I could talk all day about some of the examples, but one stands out. I was thinking last night of Peter Keniston. Freshman year, he was a senior, great, beautiful skater, straight back, head up, circle the net in Hanover one night early on, went down and scored the winning goal. Playing some of the best crosstown rivalries, Concord-Brady games that town had ever seen. And at the other end of the ice was my buddy Smitty. We'd wave to each other. I don't know what we were doing in our masks, probably swearing at each other, you know, you're a bum, that type of thing, but still, great, great memories. And to drive into Berlin on a Saturday night on our bus, underneath the Hockey Town USA goalie sticks, I still get goosebumps. To play that night in front of a capacity crowd and have it feel good to be hated for 3 periods. During those years, I was lucky and thankful to be part of a team at Brady. When we had a 6 o'clock practice, 6 a.m. practice, the whole team would be on the ice at 5:30. A close-knit bunch, all of us overachieving, and also to have my name called on the radio by Dick Osborne. Later, Dick and I did some UNH games together on the radio. He's the only guy on the radio that ever called me out and said, "You want to go?" Because he was so frustrated with me one night, I couldn't get anything straight. Luckily and thankful to have Bud LeCurn as my coach. A coach that believed in me, that kept me in line, never let me think I was bigger than the team. A man that I respected enough to felt I had to apologize to him when I didn't play well. He accepted my apology, but he also smacked me upside the head, and you're right. A person that I went through a wall for, a person I could sit next to on the bus on the ride home from a game and talk about anything. A coach that made me a better player, and more importantly, a better person. 2 other coaches I need to acknowledge while I was at Brady that don't have anything to do with hockey are Paul Murphy and Jim Mulaney, my football coaches. During my 3 years of football, like Bud, they pushed me to overachieve, to prepare me for the next level, again, never letting me be bigger than the team. I'm convinced that without their help in getting me to UNH football, there never would have been an opportunity to play UNH hockey. Thankfully and luckily at UNH, Coach Holt had a philosophy with his goalies that you paid your dues. If you paid your dues, you'd earn your turn. And this happened at least while I was there. After spending my sophomore hockey season rehabilitating my left knee, I was playing summer hockey in Danvers. Coach Holt had a decision to make whether to keep me coming up through or to go out and recruit a goaltender to back up Todd Pearson, who was going into his senior year. He came down in a game with Coach Cullen, and again, luckily and thankfully, watched me, made a decision, looked at me, and I was able to back Todd up and start the next 2 years after that. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I could have played at UNH. It was a dream come true. Coach Holt believed in me, and like my previous coaches, pushed me to be better. One memory I have of Coach coming to me after we beat RPI 2-1 at home, and he had a great nature about him. He gently tapped my right pad. He said, "You stole that for us." Never forgot it. To be able to play hockey past college was just plain luck. I'm convinced of that, and I am very thankful for it. Sitting in an Edmonton Oiler training camp locker room, looking around with Fuhrer, Moog, Messier, Coffey, and Curry, and of course Wayne Gretzky, skating with them, and then watching them act just like we did at White's Park, like kids playing a game of shinny. It really put hockey, how great hockey, and put it in perspective for me. I'm lucky and thankful to my father, Bruce, who taught me the foundation of goaltending, and my mother, for allowing me, both of them, for allowing me to pursue the great game, for getting me where I needed, getting me what I needed, and leaving me there and letting me do the rest. Being there for the early AM practices, the late night games, for my mother yelling, "Hang in there, Bruce," in her German accent, and for my dad attending every single high school and collegiate game I played in. And I wanted to play goalie because he did. I'm lucky to thankful to have been playing in Muskegon, Michigan in the minors on a December Friday night, looking to my left during the second period, spying my best friend, my wife. I'm lucky and thankful to have been there to see her, chase her, chase her and chase her. And on to that, I am lucky and thankful to have been there for my son Jonathan's first save, and my son Cameron's first goal. It's a great way of life, this game of hockey, and I thank you all very much for allowing me to be part of it.
Okay, 4 members left. We start with the great coach from Berlin, another hockey town guy. Listen to these numbers. He graduated from Notre Dame High in '64 and graduated from New Hampshire College in '71. 64 and 71. I hope you're the all-time leading scorer after 7 great seasons at New Hampshire College. Went on to coach the Manchester Regional Youth Hockey Association, beginning a long, great coaching career. We lost him to Illinois for a while, but then he came back home. 12 years coached at Manchester Central High School. Great success there, 129 wins. Then went on to his alma mater, which is now called Southern New Hampshire University. Just finished his 9th year there, 111 wins there. And all the while, he's been an official for about 20 years as well. And unless there's been an incident I'm not aware of, he's the president of New Hampshire Legends of Hockey. We're really, really happy to induct Rene LeClaire, Coach LeClaire, into the Legends of Hockey Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. You're right, this is a little nerve-wracking. I thought I was always calm, cool, and collected, but it's quite an honor. And I have 3 full pages of single-spaced, number 8 font. So, and I forgot my glasses, so you're going to have to bear with me. No, not really. I really can't begin to tell you how truly honored I am to be standing here among so many other truly talented players, coaches, and officials. Quite frankly, who all deserve to be standing here as well and recognized for their contributions to a sport that we all truly love. When I look at the names of those that have come before and those that are being inducted today, I'm totally honored and blessed to be among them. I'm extremely grateful to all and the Legends of Hockey and for Ken McKinnon for nominating me to this honor and for the recognition bestowed upon me. When you think about it, induction into the Legends of Hockey Hall of Fame, those are words that I still can't believe I'm hearing for just doing something that I enjoyed doing all my life, something I love to do. That's amazing. I'd like to thank a few people, starting with my dad. Even though he's not here to see this, I want to thank him for instilling in me the love of the sport. Every winter, he'd build a backyard rink, and we'd be out there playing with my friends. My sisters would be out there. My older brother would be out there. I learned to skate, and my whole family learned to skate in the backyard. I also remember going to the bogs in Berlin and community club, but going out there and sometimes falling through the ice and keep skating because you couldn't go home and get up and stop skating because you'd freeze to death. But I'd see the likes of Didi Villeneuve and Albie Broder and Dickie Valier, and sometimes they'd even ask us to play with them. What a thrill that was. I mean, I was growing up watching them playing for the Maroons, and I'm still getting there, and it was a thrill just to be playing with them. And you know, what was amazing is that with all that, we didn't need any adult supervision to have fun. It was great. As I think back to my early coaching days, a name that stands out, and nobody here will recognize the name, is Jim Gibbons, but he was the commissioner of the Chicago Metropolitan High School Hockey League. He's the one who arranged for me to start coaching at Driscoll High in Addison, Illinois. That set the stage for my career as a hockey coach. I had also started refereeing a year before that, but as a result of both of those activities, I would see players officiating do things that I didn't know could be done. Or at least I hadn't noticed the nuances and the idiosyncrasies that these people would have. So then I would try to take that back to my own players and try to instill, I'd try to do it, I couldn't do all the things they do, but I'd try to instill in my players the tactics and the skills that these people had. Basically, I was a stickler for detail, too. I didn't like people going through a drill and you know, if I said turn on the red line, I meant the red line, not just before the red line, not after the red line. I meant the red line. And some of my former players would probably attest to the fact that I would get a little angry. As a matter of fact, I don't know if they're here, but there's a couple rink managers at the West Side Arena and JFK that every season they would wager to see how many clipboards I'd break in this course of a season. And I broke a few. But those, you know, I've mellowed since those days now. As an official, I had the pleasure of officiating games of many of the inductees that have already gone by, and also some of the ones that are being inducted today. Johnny Norman, Red Gendron, Bruce Gillies, and Kangaroo. And congratulations, guys, for being honored, and everyone else. I want to thank Paul Robridge, who made an exception as president of Manchester Regional Youth Hockey Association. My oldest son was not quite 5 years old yet, and I wanted him to play hockey in the league and get going. But you had to be 6 years old. So Paul, as president, made a command decision that, yeah, he can play. Of course, there is a stipulation. You have to coach and be division manager. Blackmail, it works every time. But it worked real well because I ended up having a good time doing it. I want to thank Butch Joseph for hiring me to coach at Central, and also Chip Pollock for giving me the opportunity to coach at Southern New Hampshire University. It's been a great ride. The seasons came and went, and the years have gone by, and they've mounted by quickly, quite frankly. The pleasure and pride, though, brought to me, knowing and seeing players that I coached go on, surpassing all expectations that I might have had, getting calls and letters from former players thanking me and for what I had done, which to me was not much, but it's truly fulfilling as a coach, and something that I'm thankful for and I'm thankful for having had the opportunity to do. I also want to thank my recent assistant coaches, Dave Dabrowski, Ken Hutchins, and John Nanoff. Dave for the last few years, Ken Hutchins for all the years I've been coaching at Southern New Hampshire, and John Nanoff, who has been with me as a coach for over 16 seasons. Thank you, guys. Now, there's only one other person I need to thank. There's a lot of people I need to thank, but there's one person I need to thank above all. This person, above all others, has supported and influenced me for so many years. This person has not had a winter vacation in 36 years. She's the glue that has kept everything together in our family. Before we met, she'd never been to a hockey game. But after so many years of being with me and my family around the sport, she's become quite an expert of good play, and has also been one of my best scouts. She could pick out a good player when she saw it, and a good team. I'd like you to meet this special person, my beautiful wife of 36 years, Fane. I couldn't have done any of this without her help and support, so thank you very much. Again, I want to thank the Academy. No, really, I want to thank all of you for the support that you've given me over the years, and thank you very much.
Another coach, the long and great history, our only member here that has his name etched on the Stanley Cup. Happened in 1995 when he was an assistant coach with the New Jersey Devils. He's another product of the great hockey town Berlin, and played at Berlin High School, and in 1975 won the state championship. I believe that's the last state championship Berlin has won. Hopefully another one's coming along soon. Went to New England College, was their leading scorer as a freshman, and then captained the team the next 3 years. Then got into the coaching ranks, 3 years with the University of Maine, then on to the Devils to win the Stanley Cup, 3 years with the Albany River Rats. And when he was there a couple years ago on this day, we're honoring Dartmouth today. A couple years ago we did the Berlin Maroons, and how cool was it that day when he brought his Albany River Rats to play the Manchester Monarchs, a coach from Berlin on the day that we honored Berlin. It was pretty cool, and we knew someday he'd be standing up here to come in the Hall of Fame as well. Right now, assistant coach at UMass Amherst, and we thank him for sending his great sophomore goalie 2 years early to the LA Kings organization. He just signed the other day. We look forward to seeing John Quick hopefully play for the Monarchs very soon. We're so proud to induct into the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey, Dennis Red Gendron. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Congratulations.
What you need to know about that day, the Monarchs were wearing the Maroons jerseys. We got beat. After about another year of that stuff, I got fired. I think I think on that day I would have preferred to be coaching the Maroons. That's what happens. Thanks, Monarchs, for getting me fired. I want you to know that today I got 2 free tickets, thank you. I bought another, I don't know how many, a lot. So I'm helping you to get the next guy fired. Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here today. Thank you to the Legends, Dartmouth College. I got some buddies over there, Coach Gaudette, pretty good guy. I like him. A lot of the rest of you guys I met today, and congratulations. It's a great school. I wasn't anywhere near smart enough to go near that place. In fact, they still don't let me in the rink. Coach Crow let me coach a summer camp there. I had to take the SAT over before Well, anyway. So I said thank you to the Legends, Jim Hayes, the board of directors. Special thanks to all of you. It's a great day for me and my family. And as you can see, there are a lot of Berlin guys here. I'm just like one more. It's obviously a great day for Berlin. I offer my congratulations to today's other inductees, their families, all of those of you previously inducted. Congratulations. I'm honored to join you today. Lots of people I have to recognize. None of us do any of this by ourselves. First, my wife, Jan, my daughters, Katie and Allie. You know, my wife, I've had good luck in hockey, been associated with a lot of winning teams, but my wife, if you gave out championship rings for outstanding efforts in the family, Jan would have 1 million of them. So very thankful. My folks, Amy and Frank Gendron, obviously they afforded me an opportunity to play as a child and started all this nonsense. I grew up in golden age of hockey in Berlin. Johnny alluded to it. In Berlin, Saturday night, Sunday afternoon was the Maroons. Dickie Roy, Albie Broder, Bird Levine, Carl Langley, all these guys, and they were all our heroes. And during the week, we got to watch Notre Dame and Berlin High. By the way, where's the young fellow who was up here I just met? The last state championship at Berlin High was 1976, not 75. You got to get your story straight, son. I'm glad I can make you laugh. You know, so watching those guys play, and the arena was packed, and the Notre Dame arena was not a non-smoking facility, so we had smoke. I know Bruce was talking about that. But it was a pretty cool place to grow up. And basically, it was the center of town. That was the only thing in town. And that, as Renee said, there was the community club skating rink, which is sort of satellite of the Notre Dame arena. For all those guys who lived on the east side of the river. And for kids like me and Johnny Norman on the west side, we played down at Green Street. Frankie Roy, Frankie's here today, are you? Frankie was one of those community club guys over there. But anyway, I grew up in a great hockey environment. Great players in Berlin during my era. I mentioned some of the old guys like Dickie. Dickie, why don't you stand up? Tell us how old you are. 29. 29.
72.
Outstanding, Dick. If I look that good at 52, I'll be lucky. Frankie, Johnny, of course. We had Ducky Martin, played at Providence College, Dennis Ducky Martin, Gump Nolan. There were a whole slew of us that played in those days Division II college hockey. We had a boatload of guys play major junior in the Quebec League, and it was just a great thing. And Johnny already talked about Albie and Husky. Those are the guys that made it happen for all of us. So thank you. While I was at New England College, I played with some great guys. There's a few of them here today. My roommate, Rick St. Laurent, goalie, not quite as big as Bruce Gillies, but he was pretty damn good. Paul Santoro, Dave Higgins, Leo Curley. Those people helped me. I learned to love the game in Berlin, but I continued to love it while I was there. I had the good fortune to play for a couple of great coaches who have a great connection here to New Hampshire. Mickey Goulet is a UNH alum, was a great player there. He coaches the Italian national team now. Of course, Bill Beanie, another great player at New Hampshire, won about 52,000 national championships at the Division III level. This year, tough year. They lost in the finals. If I had a few more years like that, I'd be all right. So I was pretty fortunate that way to play with all of these guys. It wasn't easy in those days at New England College. Jimmy Hayes hadn't made $1 gazillion yet. So we didn't have a rink at NEC in Henniker, so we had a nice school bus that we painted blue so it wouldn't look like a school bus. And we drove to practice every day at the Everett Arena. And then we had to bring our gear back. And I know Johnny was talking about sex. I don't like to talk about sex. But imagine what it might have been like trying to bring a nice young lady back to your room with that gear. But anyway, that was what we contended with. So I really think you had to love the game to keep playing under those circumstances. I mean, clearly in those days, I had come from Berlin High School where Coach Broder had an A-plus locker room and everything else, and I went to college, and you would think that things would be better, but in terms of the amenities, it was less so. You know, I'd like to share with you what I believe in closing, because I know you've listened enough of my crap. I love that kid. You want a scholarship, son? UMass Minutemen, class of 2020. Bobby, is that a recruiting violation? One of the greatest days of my hockey life happened in '95. Stanley Cup came to Berlin, and we had a little party after, because you know none of us in Berlin ever imbibed at all. And the neat thing was, all of the guys I played with and some of my coaches from Berlin came, and they brought their families. We have a photograph of all the children of all the guys I had the good fortune of playing with. And that's my favorite hockey photo. Finally, this guy I coached with for a long time, John Cuniff, we were gathered at his funeral in South Boston. Tim Taylor, the great coach from Yale University, was eulogizing John. And he spoke about the last time he had seen John and what John had told him. He said, "John, it's about building bridges. Our coaches built bridges for us, and it's our job to continue to build bridges for future players." At that moment, I think I finally understood what coaching was all about. The Berlin Maroons, the old guard, Dickie Roy and all of your guys, the old players at Notre Dame and Berlin High, Husky Poirier, Albie Broder, my football coach, Mark Tilton, my baseball coach, Rusty Ross, the guys at New England College that I played with, my former teammates in Berlin, the University of Maine, St. Albans, Vermont, all the guys I coached with there, the New Jersey Devils, and now, of course, the University of Massachusetts. All of these people have built bridges for me. And what's really neat about being here today is I see this organization, by honoring our past in hockey in this great state, building more bridges for future generations of New Hampshire hockey players. I'm proud to be from Berlin. Thank you.
Next up, from the University of New Hampshire, I looked at this statistic, and maybe you did in your program too, and I thought for sure it was a typo, and I almost went to Jim Hayes and said, what should this really be? As a captain in senior year, he averaged 4.2 points per game. That will likely stand forever in perpetuity at UNH. So 39 points, 4.2 points per game as a senior. After graduation, went on to play 3 years for the Boston Olympics, based out of the Garden, became the president of the Concord Ice Skating Arena, 20 years as a top-notch official, and he's even in the UNH Hall of Fame for his football playing. We welcome Rusty Martin as we induct into the New Hampshire Legends Hall of Fame Russ Martin. Rusty accepts for his late father.
Thank you very much. I'd first like to offer my congratulations to those who are being inducted here today and those members who have already been inducted in past years. This is a very emotional and wonderful experience for me to be part of. And I also want to acknowledge those who have come here and supported me in honoring my dad, my wife Sally and sister Betsy, who came all the way from Utah with me, my son Tad and wife Heidi, who came from New York, and three former neighbors, Jane and Pat and Nick Crescenti, who are here, and as well as an old friend who I probably haven't seen in some 40 years, Steve Winship. And I also want to thank Steve and Jim Hayes and Bob Norton, who really railroaded, if that's the right word, or drove the train that got my dad. I think they're responsible for the awareness of what he did and really were, I think, critical in getting him inducted into the Hall of Fame. 43 years and 2 weeks ago, I had the honor and the opportunity to play in the Final Four of the New Hampshire State High School Hockey Tournament. Now that may sound like a big deal today. In 1964, there were only 4 teams in the state. So, but we played up in the Notre Dame Arena. We were fortunate enough to beat Notre Dame in overtime in the opening game and played Berlin in the final. And I was reminded today as I met Pierre Boulanger, a charter member of your Hall of Fame, and it's the first time I've seen Pierre, and since then probably, that he came into our locker room and said, "You enjoy it because tomorrow night you're going to get your butt kicked." And he was absolutely right. And I would also note that the coach of that team was another Hall of Fame inductee, Ken McKinnon, and it's just great to see him. About 20 months later, I had the privilege of playing in the inaugural game at the Douglas N. Everett Arena, Dartmouth versus UNH hockey game. There were some 1,600 fans there. It was sold out, and what a privilege that was. Dartmouth happened to win that game. It was the only year that we were able to beat UNH in my 3 years at Dartmouth. The reason I talk about those 2 events is that neither of them would have happened without my dad. Looking back at the high school experience, my sophomore year in high school was the first year that Concord High School had a hockey team after a long hiatus. And basically he got himself onto the school board, and his main agenda, I think, was to get a hockey team back at Concord. The Everett Arena would not exist, I believe. It would eventually exist, but would not have existed and come into fruition and opened in 1965 without his efforts. His legacy to hockey in this state is unbelievable. This whole experience has taken me back, and I've read clippings, and we moved we moved to Concord, New Hampshire in 1959 from outside of Boston. And as has already been alluded to, he was one hell of a hockey player, and he got me involved in Pee Wees very early. And when we got to Concord, New Hampshire, there was no youth program. And he spent hours and hours, he recruited people, and he started a youth hockey program in Concord, New Hampshire in 1959. And that segued into the high school team. But I think what this all brings to me is the legacy that he has left. He left the legacy of a youth program. In talking to Steve Winship, we were trying to figure out how many boys and girls and young men and women have been involved in youth hockey in Concord since that time. And it's got to be in the tens of thousands. I think there's now 40 high school teams in the state. Back then, in 1964, there were 4 and maybe 5. I don't know how many ice arenas there are in the state of New Hampshire now. The Everett Arena was the third enclosed one, the third artificial rink in 1965. The other 2, one was associated with Dartmouth and one was associated with the University of New Hampshire. So he had a tremendous legacy. He was a stubborn man. He was a persuasive man. He was a charming man. He had a twinkle in his eye. And he was a very selfless man. When he wanted to get something done, he had a way of getting it done. He was not the type of guy you could say no to. He was very persuasive. And he was also selfless. I know, and I've heard this from several people, when the arena was dedicated and built, there was a tremendous movement in Concord to name it after him. And he would have no part of that. And that's just the kind of guy he was. He loved the game of hockey. He was an amazing player. I can still remember in high school, every once in a while he'd grab a stick and a puck, and he'd go out on the rink and he could play keep away, and none of us could come close to getting away from him. Quick as a cat. He was a tremendous player. He was obviously a tremendous athlete. He had tryouts. He played for the Boston Olympics, but he also had tryouts with the Washington Redskins. So he's an amazing man. He loved the game of hockey, and he loved giving back. And that was the type of person he was. Obviously, from the size of this group and the number of people who are here, it blows me away. I've lived out west now for a long time, and it's amazing to see how and gratifying that the game of hockey is alive and well in this state. And I think my dad had a lot to do with that. And I think the Legends of Hockey, the New Hampshire Legends of Hockey, has a lot to do with that. And they're to be commended. Jim Hayes and the whole group. I didn't know a lot about this organization until about a year ago. And I think they've done a great job in promoting the heritage of the game and the beauty of the game. I don't think anybody that's in this room, you cannot help but get a sense of how everybody that's here loves this game. And my dad was certainly part of that. I just want to close by saying, on behalf of my family and my mom, who's still alive, unfortunately couldn't be here, it's a thrill for all of us. It's a thrill I have trouble putting into words, putting feelings to. But on behalf of everyone that knew my dad and was associated with him, I'm humbled to accept this award on his behalf. Thank you.
And now Kangaroo, the guy who was always able to skate faster and jump higher and more acrobatic than any of his opponents. He grew up in Quebec but came to Manchester in the mid-1960s and played for the Granite State Hockey League with some other New Hampshire legends like Willie Bebo and Ray Champlain, and just played for some classic names in New Hampshire hockey history like the Manchester Blackhawks and the Manchester Monarchs and the Tri-City Coachmen and the Concord Budmen, and he is still playing hockey once a week, we hear. So we're happy to induct into the New Hampshire Legends Hall of Fame class of 2007, Norman Kangaroo Heber.
Hi, folks. It's a great honor to be here today. I played 15 years with all my opponent and my friend. They are here tonight, and I'm glad you are here. To all the years I played, I'd like to thank you, everybody, because they made me the player I would like to be. And I would like to thank you, my wife and my family that joined me today here. And thank you again, and have a nice day. Their speech was short but sweet.